Hi, everybody. Fans are not happy with Corbin Burnes. Gave up 4 home runs on Monday night to the Astros. The Brewers got crushed 12-2 in the opener of that 3-game series. We'll talk about that. Another pitcher goes on the injured list. Got a lot to talk about this edition of Locked On Brewers. Coming up next here on the Locked On Podcast Network.
You are Locked On Brewers, your daily Milwaukee Brewers podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Honestly, it was stunning to see Corbin Burnes, a one-time Cy Young Award winner, get rocked the way he did. I know some pitchers get rocked. I know that's going to happen. Every great pitcher, and I'm not saying Corbin Burnes is like an all-time best or anything like that, but he was a Cy Young Award winner, and we do think very highly of him. Some of you on Twitter tonight don't, but to see him give up 4 home runs tonight was a little astonishing. I know that Astro teams can hit. They're a good hitting team. And I told you yesterday about Yordan Alvarez. We'll get to that in a second here too. But, man, 4 home runs by Burnes. Some people are wondering, in Twitterland, we'll talk about that in Brewer Nation coming up here in a little bit. I'm Chuck Freeman. I'm the host of Locked On Brewers, first-year host. Great to be here. Many of you know me, longtime sports talk show host in Milwaukee, morning sports anchor at 1310 WIBA in Madison. Been covering the Brewers for over 40 years for AP Radio as well. Good to have you on, and all you everydayers out there, thank you. Following me on Twitter at Chuck Freeman, FREIMUND. Follow us, the audio version of the podcast, on your podcast platforms, Spotify, Google, Apple. They're all there. And, of course, on YouTube, hit the subscribe button. Find us, Locked On Brewers. Hit the subscribe button. Hit that little bell. That's going to alert you every time we drop an episode because we are here after every game, win or lose. But, honestly, tonight, I want to turn the game off. I was getting so frustrated with this. It was just kind of boiling over from the last several weeks. That this team just can't get on a roll. Yeah, they beat the Royals a couple of weeks ago, 3 in a row at home. Yeah, and it's a major league team. But I'm also thinking that maybe the Brewers just can't beat or stay in the ballpark, so to speak, with a good team. Maybe they're a team that's just capable of beating up on the bad teams. We'll get to that a little bit later on in the show as well. But first of all, we got to get this performance from Burnes. Now, the Astros put up a season high in runs, the 12 runs, 12-2 win, 15 hits, the 5 home runs, 4 off Burnes. And then later in the game, 6th inning, the Astros blew this one out of the water. They're up 6-1, and the Brewers council brings in the left-hander, Hobie Milner, to face Yordan Alvarez. And Alvarez hits lefties better than righties. And I know that's the book. You bring in a lefty to pitch to Alvarez, but he threw Alvarez a meatball, and Alvarez didn't even get all of it, put it over the left center field fence. I was telling you guys yesterday in the podcast, go back if you didn't listen to it, that Alvarez scared me in this series because that guy is so clutch. He is so good, and he's got power. And when you leave fastballs over the plate like the Brewers did today, he and a few others, although some of the guys who hit home runs today for the Astros aren't exactly big bashers, but Alvarez is, and the Brewers paid the price for that tonight. 2 homers. Milner gave up the grand slam in relief of Baguero. And Burnes, though, charged with Burnes put them in an early hole. So Alvarez hitting that home run was like the cherry on top of this victory for the Astros because they were on their way to win at 6-1. Now, Brewers were coming back in this game. But for Burnesy to give up the 4 home runs, and what surprised me down in the locker room after the game, him saying that he thought he pitched well. I don't think I've ever seen a pitcher ever who gave up 4 home runs in the game say, well, outside of giving up the 4 home run balls, I pitched pretty well. Dude, that's part of it, isn't it? Yeah, that's part of it. It's like saying, other than giving up 9 runs in the first inning, I pitched pretty well. I got those 3 outs. He gave 4 home runs. No, he didn't pitch pretty well. And I think that's what Brewers fans are angry about. They're angry about that because Burnes, a couple times this year, when he hasn't pitched well, has come out and said, well, I thought I threw the ball well. No, he didn't. And I know some people are wondering, is Burnes still unhappy because the arbitration did not go his way and the Brewers did not ante up the extra 700 G's in spring training when it was arbitration time? No, I don't think that's the case. Because he's out there, he's a competitor, and let's face it, he's trying to pitch for a better contract. Because it's not going to happen in Milwaukee, and he feels if he has a mediocre year and he doesn't pitch well, that he's not going to get the $300 million that many think he's going to get. So let's go to some of these tweets that y'all had on here tonight, and I'm scrolling down. There's like one after another regarding Burnes. Trent says Burnes is washed. Well, I wouldn't say Burnes is washed. He's still a young pitcher in his prime, and his better days are ahead of him. And we know Burnes can pitch. I don't know what was going on tonight, and I hope it's not an injury, because there's been times this year when Brewer pitchers have gotten rocked. They've either been released or we find something else is going on, namely an injury. And we can't have that happen, because we're going to tell you about another Brewer starting pitcher that went on the injured list to make it 4. We're going to do that in our next segment. Jake writes, he's making himself affordable. This is the new Moneyball. Can't wait to see Brad Pitt star in it 25 years from now and play Corbin Burnes. Jeff writes, is Corbin Burnes hurt? He has to have something going on. Yeah, that's exactly what I was just saying. Jack writes, Jack Stern, a good follow on Twitter. Hearing Burnes repeatedly say he's not happy in how he's throwing the ball is not encouraging. That's true. When he comes out and has a bad outing, he keeps saying, I'm throwing the ball fine. 4 home run balls is not throwing the ball. That's bad location. Professional ball knower says, it's time to recognize that Burnes simply is not good anymore. I'm not going to say that. I wouldn't say that at all. He's still a good pitcher, but the action on his pitches isn't working. And it's easy to say, well, do I even go there with the Astros? I'm not going to go there. But Yordan Alvarez is great, and he hit one of the home runs off Burnes. And, Colin Ray is pitching tomorrow night. And that's not good, because the Astros are teeing things up. They've won 8 in a row. And he's a location pitcher, doesn't bring the heat. His stuff isn't great. It isn't great. Okay. I'm worried about tomorrow night's game already. Okay. Because the Astros are on a roll. They've won 8 in a row. They've won 11 of 12. Hottest team in baseball. Again, for a second time this year, Mike Brasso had to come in and pitch the 9th inning. I always think when you got to bring in that position player, you hate to do it. And I know Counts, he just probably kills him inside that he's got to bring in Brasso to pitch. But that's what they're down to save at arms, because another one went down. We're going to tell you about that a little bit here. Chuck Freeman here on Locked On Brewers and the Locked On Podcast Network. We are your team every day. Coming up here in the next segment, we'll tell you about, somebody who went on the injured list for the Brewers and had not been pitching well, and who might soon be returning to the Brewers. We'll get to that here in just a little bit. Game Time. Game Time is a great place to go if you are looking for last-minute tickets. I've been to Brewer games before. Last year, wanted tickets behind the dugout to see the Blue Jays. My kid wanted to see the Blue Jays play. Got tickets behind the bench to see his guys from the Blue Jays play. And we got them for $10, a handful of rows behind the Blue Jay bench when the Brewers were rolling last year. And those are the kind of tickets you get on Game Time, the Game Time app. Flash deals, last-minute tickets, easy to find. Buy tickets from any kind of event in our area. Concerts, it's a big concert season coming up in the city of Milwaukee and the state of Wisconsin, theater, any type of sport, lowest price guaranteed, event cancellation protection, image of seat views. So you could just go on, click on your seat. It's going to show you where exactly you are seated. That's great. A view of where you're seeing. So forget planning advance. Game Time specializes in last minute tickets. Download the Game Time app, create an account, use the promo code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account, redeem the code LOCKEDONMLB, $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. Game Time. Tomorrow night, the Brewers will try to even up the series with the Astros. 6:40 with the first pitch, Central Standard Time. Catch every pitch of the Brewers' hometown broadcast, Sirius XM on the SXM app. Search Brewers. And thank you, all you everydayers out there, as you continue to follow us both on Twitter, where we try to have conversations with you guys during the game. On YouTube, follow us on YouTube. There's a comment section on YouTube too. I read those. I know a lot of you guys go back there, and you everydayers out there will write comments in the comment section on YouTube. And of course, any one of your platforms for downloading a podcast, Google, Spotify, Apple. Appreciate all the follows because we are growing every day right here on Locked On Brewers on Locked On Podcast Network. I'm going to take a quick drink, and we're back after this. And we are back. Welcome to Locked On Brewers. I was for those of you who are watching me on YouTube, I was drinking a little drink of Diet Mountain Dew. Beautiful day in Wisconsin. Roof was open at AmFam Field tonight. Saw on the Astros Twitter account, they were encouraging Astros fans in Wisconsin to come out to AmFam Field, but they called AmFam Field, come on out to Miller Park tonight, like it was their home field. And they called it Miller Park. We still do that. There are Wisconsinites who do that. You know, there's people who follow this team. It's going to be hard to get out of that habit. I totally get that. So I'm not going to bash. I'm not going to bash the Astros for this. Now, a few other things, yes, but not this. Cincinnati beat St. Louis, which was good news. Cincinnati won in extra innings, I believe, 6-5. I believe that was 1 in 10 innings off the top of my head. And the Reds took the opener of that series. St. Louis has been red hot in the last 2 weeks. They stay 5 games out. All right. The Brewers, they are who they are, I think. I think that's who we're going to have to think that they are at this point. We're going to Memorial Day here. And Memorial Day is always like the first check mark, I guess, of the season, where you see, okay, we're going to contend. We might contend. We have no shot at contending. Memorial Day is kind of like you check the fluids in your car to see where you stand. Well, the pitching was the strength of this team. One by one, starters are going down. That's not a good thing. Offensively, they are what we are. We thought they were going to be. Although beginning of the season, they were moving guys over, they're hitting home runs. They played so well getting off to that start of 15-6 through the first 21. And since then, they've kind of been sinking slowly but surely toward that 500 mark. But I think this is a team that needs to beat up on bad teams. Now, you would say Colorado, they got swept a couple of weeks ago. Yeah, I get that. But, against the better teams in baseball, the Astros, St. Louis is one of the better teams, okay? You just have to fatten up, hopefully, on the bad teams. And like Tampa this weekend, hopefully don't get swept and at least take one of the games and dominate against bad teams. Now, the Brewers, 2 years ago, the Brewers are one of those teams that just dominated bad baseball teams. And then they got to Atlanta in the postseason and fell apart. Couldn't hit. Familiar story. But I think that's what the Brewers need to do. Fatten up on the bad teams. Now, San Francisco's not a bad team, but the Brewers are better than the Giants. So this weekend, when the Giants come to town, the 4-game series, hopefully maybe take 3 or 4. I don't know if that might be asking too much the way things are going with these guys. But you can't get swept by the Astros. Astros are coming in here, have won 11-12. You cannot get swept by these guys. But I'm starting to figure out that the Brewers are a team that's going to beat the bad teams or need to beat the bad teams and just survive against the better teams, because the Brewers aren't a top 5, 6 team in baseball right now. They're in first place, but they're not one of the better teams in baseball. And that's not bashing the Brewers. I know some of you think that I bash these guys. That's not bashing them. I think any of y'all could figure out, okay, win or lose, okay, that they're not one of the better teams in baseball, but they're still good enough to win the division, okay? But they're not among the elite teams in baseball. They just aren't, okay? Especially with one guy after another going down. Eric Lauer is the latest to go on the injured list. So these are the starting pitchers who are on the injured list for the Brewers right now. Woody, Miley, Ashby, and Lauer. Burnes is the only one of your preferred starting 5 coming out of spring training who is not on the injured list. That's amazing. That is just incredible. Woodruff, Miley, Ashby, and Lauer. Lauer goes on, and it's not even an injury to his throwing shoulder. It's his right shoulder. He's a lefty, and he's been trying to figure out what's been going on. He thought it was arm, his shoulder, whatever. Apparently, it's his right shoulder, but it's giving him issues, causing mechanical problems, and he's been struggling. He's given up 13 home runs this year. Okay, so maybe that's the issue with Lauer. Okay, let's get him fixed. He's on the injured list and go from there. But how are the Brewers going to survive with, hopefully there's nothing wrong with Burnes. Okay, like I said, it seems like there's a pattern. Somebody has a bad outing or 2 outings, and we figure something else is wrong with him. Lauer's the latest one. But Brewers cannot afford to lose. I know we're down on Burnes right now. Forgive up the home runs, the 4 home runs, but can't afford to lose him at all. Not whatsoever. The Brewers are in trouble, pitching-wise. I mean, they're in trouble holding on to this division. Thank God they're in a bad division, the NFC Central, the NL Central. It should be the NFC Central, the black and blue division, because the black and blue, the Brewers are the black and blue with their starting rotation because none of these guys are healthy. And our best pitcher got crushed tonight, although he says he pitched well. One bright spot, remember early in the year when all those rookies were playing well for the Brewers? We were like, where's Urias going to play when he comes back? Where is he going to play? Now we're thinking, boy, maybe Urias is going to add a spark to this team. He's going to start a rehab assignment in the next couple of days in Nashville at AAA. He's going to come off the injured list with that strained hamstring at the end of May, and we'll find a spot for him. We will. We'll find a spot for him. But for those of you who think trade Burnes right now, no. That's just like a common thing we've all wanted to do when one of our stars starts in a slump in a contract year. Trade him right now. No, you're not trading Burnes. Figure out what's wrong with the home run balls tonight. And he did not pitch well. And again, Urias coming back at the end of May. He's off the injured list. Hopefully that provides a little boost on this team right here. But that's incredible. 4 starters on the injured list as of right now for the Milwaukee Brewers. Chuck Friedman here, Locked On Brewers and the Locked On Podcast Network. We're going to tell you about tomorrow's starters coming up here in a little bit. Another great new sponsor, Sorare, a new sponsor here, a revolutionary fantasy baseball game and marketplace, transforming fans into owners, officially licensed digital cards featuring players from across all 30 MLB teams. Unlike other fantasy baseball platforms, Sorare managers truly own their own fantasy experience, collecting, buying, selling, competing with players against global opponents to win epic awards. Plus, the more you win, the more you advance. Just like anything else in this world, the more you win, the more you advance, the more prizes you get, the better things are. MLB managers from Sorare, who rank near or at the top of their leaderboards, win a variety of awards, includes scarcity cards, game tickets, merchandise, signed jerseys, VIP experience, like meeting MLB stars. So head to sorare.com/lockedon. It's spelled SORARE.com to draft your team of free player cards, set your lineup, start competing today to win epic awards. Again, that's sorare.com/lockedon to start playing today. Brewers will take on those Astros again coming up on Tuesday night, 6:40 with that first pitch. You catch every pitch of the Brewers' hometown broadcast, Sirius XM on the SXM app. Search Brewers. And thank you, all you everydayers out there on the Locked On Podcast Network. We are your team every day. We are your team every day. As a train is going by my house, that train never goes by at this time of the night. I'm hoping my wonderful mic here didn't pick that up, but a train is like blowing whistles outside my window, blocks and blocks away. Usually can't hear it this good, but it must be a cleared light where that sound is bouncing everywhere. But anyway, thanks for making Locked On Brewers your first listen to every day. People listen. I hear from you guys. You message me and on Twitter, you DM me, tell me you listen on the way to work, on the way to the golf course, on the way to picking up the kids. Thank you for taking a half hour of your time, as always. I want to hear your comments as well. Hit me up on Chuck Freeman on Twitter. That's FREIMUND. Always love hearing from the great sports fans. And I always try to get back to you 24 hours a day. You can hit me up. And of course, follow us on any of the podcasts, on any of the Google, on any of the podcast platforms, on Google, Spotify, on Apple, YouTube. You get the video version. You can see my mug right there wearing my Brewers. I think they call this a Henley shirt. Is that what they call it? My Henley shirt. Got this, I think 2018. I got this. Getting a little slug on me right now. A little snug, but it still does the trick. But thanks for making Locked On Brewers. Follow us on YouTube and hit the subscribe button. Hit the bell. That'll alert you every time we drop an episode. All right. The Brewers will be facing JP France coming up on Tuesday night. He's 1-0, a 4.11 earned run average. Got off to a decent start his first two outings. His last outing against the Cubs did not go well. 3 2/3 innings, 9 hits, 6 runs. Got to no decisions because the Astros rallied late, got him off the hook. So JP France is on the hill. He absolutely got crushed in his last outing at Minute Maid Park. For the Brewers, soft-tossing Colin Ray. Colin, there's no doubt Colin is making way more starts than he thought he would with the Brewers this time of the year. I'm sure he was probably thinking of settling in Nashville, but he's made a couple of trips back and forth, and he's going to have to start. And he's probably going to be in the starting rotation for the foreseeable future, given all the injuries the Brewers are suffering. But I'm worried that Colin Ray, as I mentioned earlier in the show, Colin Ray, who goes by location, doesn't get too much of the plate coming up on Tuesday night against this hard-hitting Astros team. You know, the Astros team that has barely had Altuve this year, got up to a slow start, but seems to are on a roll right now, having won 8 in a row, and the 5 home runs and the 12 runs total on Monday night, season's high. You just hope that the Astros are not taking it to the next level, because they're going to win their division. They're going to catch Texas, and the Astros are going to be a heavy favorite to go back to the World Series again. And their offense is explosive. And Yordan Alvarez, as I told you last night in the podcast, he's a guy who, him and Amfam Field, a bad combination for the Brewers, because Alvarez can hit with just amazing power. I mean, again, the guy can bash righties. We saw what he did to Hobie Milner, the left-hander, tonight. And I'm just worried with soft tossing Colin Ray on the hill on Tuesday night. That just doesn't sound good. But the Brewers need to come back, and they have their ace on the mound on Monday night. When you have your ace on the mound, you hope to win. The Astros have cleared the ace of the staff, and now they head to the final 2 games. And knowing that they won't have to face somebody as good as Corbin Burnes. The Brewers won't have to face Framber Valdez in the series. He pitched over the weekend, so that's the good news for Milwaukee. And they'll face JP France. It's going to do it. Thanks to everybody out there for tuning in today. Wish we had better news. 12-2. Injuries are hitting this team in the starting rotation. Got to just keep hanging in there. Counts, you just got to keep putting these guys together. And, Rowdy Tellez did homer, his 12th of the year. Brought the Brewers back to within one on Monday night, but got to keep rolling. Got to keep this offense going. Get this offense going. It was going on Sunday. Hopefully it's not getting back into one of those funks again on Monday night. But that's going to do it for me. I'm Chuck Freeman. Thanks for joining us on Locked On Brewers on the Locked On Podcast Network. We are your team every day. So long, everybody.